Hey guys, welcome back. So today I have a special treat for you guys. I have a couple of different 9mm loads out here. One of them you heard before, or heard about before, and that's the Federal HST. I have one that I've recovered from ballistics gelatin here in my hand. The other one you probably haven't heard of yet. It's a new load by Underwood, and it's featuring a new Lehigh Defense 9mm round. Now you may say, I've seen that before, and T and Outdoors 9 has tested it and it grossly overpenetrates. This is a new bullet. So the question I have for you guys is, which one of these rounds is going to outperform the other one? The new guy on the block or the Federal HST? Put your comments down below. Let's get started. All right guys, this is going to seem a little bit silly to you perhaps because I thought it was interesting, not necessarily silly, but this is just a good old-fashioned Crossman air gun, and this is how you calibrate ballistics gel. We've measured the temperature of the gelatin, it's right around 40 degrees or so, and now what we're going to do is fire a BB, a 177 caliber BB, into the gelatin and measure its depth. Okay, the BB's moving right around 480 feet per second. You're looking at about 450 to 500 feet per second, which is ideal for calibrating the gelatin. So let's see what the results of this test are. Never done this before. All right, let's take a look. So here's our temperature tool. This is how we figure out how warm or cold something is. Simply push the button, fire it at the gelatin, and it will give you your last temperature, which is 44.4 degrees, right where you want ballistics gelatin to be calibrated. Next, we fired our 177 caliber pellet in there at about 480 feet per second, and it should do about 3 1/4 inches of penetration to be properly calibrated, which you have exactly 3 1/4 inches of penetration. So our gelatin is calibrated. Let's get some velocity data. First of all, with the 90 grain, this is the Xtreme Defender, and it should do around 1,475 feet per second according to the box, but we're going to fire over the Crony here and find out what it's actually getting. 5 rounds to get a good average. Here we go. 1473, 1469, 1443, 1424, 1427. It's pretty close to what the advertised velocity is. We have a Glock 19, which is my old carry gun, has a barrel that's just over 4 inches in length, and we're going to use the 9mm plus P+. This is by Underwood. It has a 90 grain projectile using the Xtreme Defender, and it's advertised to be doing 1,550 feet per second. Let's find out. We're going to fire 5 shots to get a good average. 1540, 1530, 1522, 1525, 1516. All right, again, fairly close to the advertised velocity. We're going to fire 1 round of the plus P+, which is the Xtreme Defender from Underwood Ammunition. We're going to fire it out of the Glock 19 into some 10% ballistics gel from Dr. Coat. Let's fire the round, see what we get. So here, let's take a look at the results of the plus P+ Underwood ammunition. And what we see in the gel is about 21.5 inches of penetration. Let me go to the very end of the bullet here. We have pretty much exactly 21.5 inches of penetration. Now these are FBI blocks, so they are 16 inches in length. If you take a look at the entry, now I did have an accidental shot here. I wouldn't call it an accidental. I boo-booed and shot just a little too far to the left. So we put another shot right next to it. Now I'm looking at the wound channel. The permanent wound cavity is just right at 2 inches wide and probably about the same in depth. Yeah, 1 3/4 inch. So it's about 1 3/4 to 2 inches around. Okay, so and it does that for about 11 inches into the block. So for the first 11 inches, you're getting really good expansion. You're getting, obviously, we'll take a look at the slow motion and see, but probably pretty wild temporary wound cavity. The permanent wound cavity is certainly substantial, and the bullet stops at 21 inches. So I would say that the penetration's spot on. That's about where I like to see my bullets go. And the wound cavity certainly looks good. So for a solid tip bullet that's moving that fast, it's coming to a stop pretty quickly and dumping a lot of energy, and it looks like it's doing it in the first 11 inches or so. So that's actually really impressive for a solid tip bullet that doesn't deform to slow itself down. It's maintaining its shape, 100% of its bullet mass is retained. Pretty good stuff. Just for the sake of comparison, we're going to fire a Federal HST, which is 124 grain hollow point, traveling at an advertised velocity of 1,150 feet per second. And we're going to fire it right next to the +P+ Underwood that we just fired a moment ago and see what it does by comparison. This was actually a really interesting test, firing the Federal 124 grain HST next to the Underwood 90 grain +P+. So we have 13.5 inches of penetration. If we look at the wound channel is less impressive with the HST. You'll notice the Underwood has a much larger permanent wound cavity that runs almost the full length of how far the HST penetrated completely. So you have 13 inches of penetration with the HST, but you have 11 inches of larger wound cavity than the HST gave us. And then you have more penetration with the Underwood at about 21 inches or so. Let's talk about ballistics gelatin. A lot of people misunderstand ballistics gelatin and what its usefulness is. Many people think that it simulates human flesh, and that's not really what its intended purpose is, and it doesn't do that very well at all. If anything, it somewhat simulates one of the 4 types of tissue found in the human body, and that's muscle. But even then it falls short because everybody has different muscle density. If somebody works out in the gym 2 times a day versus somebody that sits around on the couch all day, the person that goes to the gym is going to have denser muscle tissue. So it somewhat simulates muscle. It doesn't take into account bone, organs, other things, connecting tissues between the bones, none of that stuff, cartilage. It doesn't take any of that stuff into consideration. So it's not really designed to simulate human flesh. What it's designed to do is be consistent. You need a consistent test media so you can conduct your tests in. So if I use 10% ballistics ordnance gelatin and you use it, we can compare our results and say that, yeah, we're getting similar test results and my tests are valid as are yours. So that's where its value comes in, consistency. Everybody uses the same test medium, everybody gets consistent results. Okay, so with that being said, doing 21 inches in ballistics gel is nothing like shooting something that's living, and I know this for a fact. TN Outdoors 9 did some testing with the first version of the 9mm that Lehigh Defense put out that penetrated 2 or 3 blocks of gelatin and went on to go through milk jugs full of water and everything else, and he was becoming frustrated because that is a ridiculous amount of penetration. I took that same load with me to Georgia and shot some deceased pigs and found out that a pig that's about that wide, one of those rounds would not penetrate shoulder to shoulder. I shot it from about 3 feet away and shot it right in the shoulder blades, and it did not come out the other side of the pig. Got some Lehigh maximum penetration 9mm. We're going to pop this pig in the shoulder blade and see if these 9mm slugs make it all the way through. Not even close. So all that talk about over-penetration, it's just a bunch of talk. Hit. Yeah, I didn't make it through. Huh. That bullet, even though it over-penetrates in ballistics gelatin and actual living flesh, the bullet didn't over-penetrate, even on a side-to-side shot through the shoulders. So if you get 21 inches of ballistics gelatin penetration, what's going to happen in an actual shooting, in an actual living human being or animal or something like that, like a defensive shooting, you're probably not going to see 21 inches of penetration. By the time it goes through clothing, if it hits a rib, it hits bone, it hits other more dense tissue, you might see 8 or 9 inches of penetration, which is a minimum amount, especially if you're talking across the shoulders. There's more than 9 inches. If I get hit here and it goes through this arm, goes through a rib, it could fall short of my heart, which is going to be necessary to bring me down and stop me from fighting. Just punching a hole in the ribs, as we learned from the Platt and Maddox Dade County shootout, stopping short of the heart didn't do it. Even though Platt's lung was punctured and it was a lethal blow and he was dying, he still went on to kill FBI agents before he bled out. So you want that penetration, and you have to take into consideration less than ideal shots. Your enemy or the bad guy might not be standing square to you like I'm standing square to the camera right now. Okay guys, next up is the 9mm Plus P from Underwood Ammunition. And this is the one that's going about 1,475 feet per second. Here's the round. We're going to shoot it into the 10% ballistics gelatin from Dr. Coat. And let's see what we get in terms of penetration. Wow, I can see the damage from here. Let's take a look close up. All right guys, here's the Plus P load, the Xtreme Defender, and it looks like we have 17 3/4 inch of penetration. The bullet looks like it turned around, it's facing backwards, but the permanent wound cavity is substantial, far more than the HST. It looks like it's about 2 inches across. Holy cow, guys. It's a lot bigger than that. Vertically, looks like it's closer to 2.5, 2 3/4 inches tall. So it's a huge permanent wound cavity, much bigger than the HST. And we're getting that 17 3/4 inches of penetration. Very, very impressive. The bullet did turn around backwards. I don't see that as being an issue. It retained 100% of its mass. It did not lose any weight whatsoever. Again, it's not a hollow point. It's at the exact same condition as it left the barrel. And wow. Now keep in mind, this bullet is really flying fast and it's stopping fast. When you get velocity and you slow that velocity down very quickly, 17 inches of gel, you're gonna dump a lot of energy, and that's where we're getting this huge permanent wound cavity. You will also see it corkscrewing through the gelatin. I think that has a lot to do with the shape of the bullet. It's spinning very quickly, obviously, for stability in flight by design, and it's imparting that torsional energy into the gelatin, and it's giving you that corkscrew effect. And again, it's dumping that energy quickly and coming to a halt very, very fast. We're going to try something else here, guys. The Plus P seemed to do a much larger permanent wound cavity than the Plus P Plus, which is moving faster. What we're going to do is shoot the gelatin really quick, the exact same block, before the temperature gets up. Right now, the front block is measuring 51 degrees. The back block is measuring 49. Temperature plays a large role in the calibration of this gel, so we're going to fire this Plus P into it really quickly and see if we get similar results. You guys may not believe this, but I'm not a ballistician by trade. I'm learning as I go along, doing research online and talking to people in the industry that actually know what they're talking about and what they're doing. So this is a learning experience for me as well. Now this ballistics gel I'm not used to using. I'm used to using other products that are based on silicon. This is actual FBI 10% ballistics ordnance gelatin. Now what we've learned here this afternoon is the temperature of the block is critical. Just 10 degrees can make a huge difference. When we took a look at the Plus P Plus ammunition on our first test, the block was around 55, almost 60 degrees. It had sat out in the sunlight. It's rather warm out here today. So we took these right out of the chest, we measured them, got them really close to the 45, 46 degrees where they want to be, and we noticed a significant difference in the performance. The colder the block is, the more dense the block is, and the more like muscle tissue it will be. As it warms up, it becomes soft and rather pliable, which isn't representative of human flesh in any way whatsoever. So looking at that, we have the Plus P and the Plus P Plus penetrated about the same, 17.5 inches, but the wound channel on the Plus P is significant. It is ginormous. We have the permanent wound cavity running about 13.5 inches, and even at its most narrow point where it starts to peter out, it's still 1.5 inches in diameter. So it's significant. At its widest point, we're looking at almost 3 inches. So that is a huge permanent wound cavity, and it is significantly more pronounced than the Federal HST that we used as well. So, wow. Again, the Plus P Plus bullet turned around backwards, so the base is facing perfectly forward like the Plus P round. the Plus P Plus definitely gave better permanent wound cavity. Okay guys, so we're gonna step it up a notch. What we're gonna do now is fire the Plus P Plus Extreme Defender through 4 layers of denim into the 10% gelatin that we just took out of the cooler. So we're being very careful to make sure that we're maintaining the proper temperature on the gelatin. Load 1 round, and here we go. Wow, all right. I can see the damage once again. Let's take a closer look. Okay guys, let's take a look at what the Plus P Plus did with 4 layers of denim. The penetration is 17 inches, good. Now it did take about a ½ inch or so off the penetration going through 4 layers of denim. What really impresses me is the size of the permanent wound cavity. The permanent wound cavity runs a little over 13 inches in length, which is about the penetration we got out of the HST. So it's blowing the HST away in terms of permanent wound cavities. The height at its thickest at about 5½ inches in. We have over 3 inches of height in the permanent wound cavity and about 2½ inches of width. Now you can still see that rotational spiraling, the corkscrewing of the bullet. The bullet this time did not turn around backwards. Happens about 50% of the time, it seems. But with the denim, it almost looks like the wound cavity is larger. Now, here's what's really cool. I didn't expect this out of a solid bullet. I did not expect it to perform better than the HST, which is a very popular load for defensive use. This thing is smoking it in terms of what we saw in ballistics gel and permanent wound cavities. I like more penetration. This is giving me exactly right where I want to see it. Right around 18, 20 inches is ideal. We're falling about 17 inches after going through denim. I don't know how it's doing it. The bullet's maintaining 100% of its weight. It's not deforming in any way whatsoever, but it's giving better end results. I can't explain it, but I definitely like it. All right, guys, we're going to do one more thing that's going to add some interesting aspects to the testing we're doing this afternoon. One thing you'll rarely see people that use hollow points talk about in their testing is bone. Bone screws bullets up, especially hollow points. It can cause them to do all sorts of erratic things. And that's why we like using pork ribs. We're going to take the pork ribs, we're actually going to leave them in their plastic cover. It's a really thin cover. It doesn't really matter, but what it does, it helps keep all the gore and the goo inside one contained place so we're not getting all sticky. We're going to stick that in front of our ballistics gel. So hopefully we'll hit a bone on the way through, and then we're going to put 4 layers of denim in front of that, and we're going to see how these 90 grain solid projectiles are going to do, and we're going to use the Plus P Plus. Let's check this out. All right, guys, here we go. We're going to use the Plus P Plus Extreme Defender with the Lehigh bullet and the Underwood loading, and we're going to fire it through some pork ribs and 4 layers of denim, then into 10% ballistics gelatin from Dr. Coat. Let's see what we get. Oh, I saw some splash. All right, let's check this out. Okay guys, check this out. So first of all, you can see where the bullet went in. There are 2 rib bones right here. It looks like it glanced off this rib bone here. You can see the black mark. Feels like it fractured the bone. And then it came into the gelatin. It looks just like what it looked like when it went through the denim. Expansion, looks like we got 17.5 or 18 inches of penetration. The bullet turned around backwards. Okay, 17 3/4 of an inch. So the penetration remained the same. It went through meat, went through bone, went through denim, and then into the gelatin. We still got the same penetration. The bullet's backwards, and it looks like the permanent wound cavity is identical to the last test. 3 inches, 2 1/4 wide. The permanent wound cavity, 10 3/4 of an inch. That's amazing. It really, really is good performance. Wow, man. I can't believe this, out of a solid. 15 rounds of the new Underwood loading using the Lehigh bullet 90 grain Xtreme Defender out of the Glock 19. A demonstration of reliability. Okay guys, we're going to take it up again one more notch. We're going to take the ballistics gelatin block that we just shot, we're going to switch them around here. We're going to take our catch block, move it to the front. All right. And now what we're going to do, because we can't seem to slow this darn bullet down, right? It keeps giving us consistent penetration. We're going to put 2 layers of pork ribs in front of this thing. 2 layers. And we're going to put our denim back up there. We're going to see if we still get 17 inches of penetration. I mean, these bullets are just unbelievable. They won't stop. So let's see what happens now. All right, guys, 2 layers of pork ribs, 4 layers of denim, and 10% ballistics gelatin from Dr. Coat. And let's see if that makes a difference with the Plus P Plus Xtreme Defender with the Underwood loads. I saw a bunch of goo splash. Let's go take a look at the damage. Guys, you can't make this stuff up. Check this out. Okay, 2 layers of pork ribs, 4 layers of denim, bullet comes in. Now this is our catch block. So this wound channel you see right here is brand new. Here's our bullets from our previous tests and what was the catch block. And then over here, you can actually see where the bullet came to rest. The base is facing forward, so it did turn around backwards. But we got 17¼ inches of penetration. We can't make this bullet not penetrate 17 inches no matter what we put in front of it that's practical. I guess if I put a cinder block in front of it, I could get it not to penetrate 17 inches, but I'm starting to wonder. I mean, check this out. Let's see if we even hit a bone. Oh yeah, right square hit on a bone. I can feel the bone fragment. Clean hit on a rather good sized bone that time. And here you can see, look at the hole, the gaping hole. So it brought some of that tissue through. Big gaping hole. Straight into the block. You can see it pulled some of the meat into the block. Looks like we hit no, it glanced off a rib. Cleanly glanced off a rib. Okay, so we hit 2 bones, came through. Now, I will admit, the permanent wound cavity is shorter this time. So the big part of it runs about 6½ inches into the block. It still continues to have a pronounced wound cavity about 9½ inches in, but the bloom at about 4 inches in is at least 3 inches high and about 2 inches wide. Absolutely freaking unbelievable. I don't know how this is happening or why it's happening. All I know is I've never seen anything like it before. I just haven't. I've tested a lot of hollow point ammunition. I've shot it through all sorts of crazy stuff, and this bullet is doing better than I think even my favored gold dot, 147 grain gold dots. Unbelievable, it really is. So let's talk about the bullet and how it's coming to rest in the gelatin. About 50% of the time, the bullet will come to rest with the butt facing forward. The other half of the time, it'll come to rest with the nose facing forward. What I've noticed is it doesn't seem to make a difference. So I was concerned in the beginning that perhaps with the rear end of the bullet coming to rest forward, that the tumbling would slow the bullet down more quickly and reduce the penetration. It doesn't appear to be the case. No matter how the bullet comes to rest, either nose forward or butt forward, it still penetrates roughly 17–18 inches of ballistics gelatin. So it appears to be a non-issue. This is my 9mm Tavor with the Ratworks suppressor on it. Last time you guys saw this gun would have been the bullpup shoot last year. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna fire this with its 16-inch barrel into 2 gelatin blocks. We fired it over the chronograph. We're looking at 1,777 feet per second with the Plus P Plus load. So let's see what this does to the gel in terms of ballistics performance and see if it can still slow down as quickly as we were seeing from the handgun. Should be interesting. Okay guys, again, I can't explain this, but check this out. All right, we fired the Tavor. We chronographed the round at 1,777 feet per second, so it is going considerably faster than the handgun. Bullet didn't turn around. We got 20.5 inches of penetration. The permanent wound cavity runs the full length of the 16-inch block. 16 inches, actually it carries over into the catch block. This front block is about 55 degrees and this one's 51 degrees, so it's warming up, it's becoming a little bit less dense. But I'll be darned if that round did not grossly over-penetrate. It didn't. It penetrated right where you'd want it to penetrate. 20.5 inches. Simply unbelievable. How that bullet is slowing down so quickly without deforming like a traditional hollow point, I'll never know. Crazy stuff, but you saw it right here. You can't make this stuff up. I think I've already said that once. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed coming along, taking a look at this ammunition, which is the first type of testing that's ever been done with this new ammunition from Underwood and Lehigh Defense. The new bullet that we were shooting today uses a similar bullet design to the 380 bullet that I've tested previously and to the 9mm bullet that we saw TN Outdoors use. The scallops are more pronounced, the front surface area is less, it seems to feed reliably, but the ballistics performance is something that I've never seen before. Now this ammunition retails for $30.50 a box. It's a box of 20 rounds, and it doesn't matter if it's a 9mm, the Plus P, or the Plus P Plus, the price is the same for the 9mm. They also offer it in different calibers. What I found to be interesting about the ammunition is the fact that no matter what we shot it through, it seems like we got about 17 inches of penetration. Even when we doubled the barrel length, well, more than that, we went to a 16-inch barrel, we still only saw 20 inches of penetration with no deformation of the bullet whatsoever. It's simply unbelievable performance. I don't know how they're doing it, but it's doing it, and it's actually pretty cool. If you guys have any questions about anything you see in this video, you can ask those questions on our Facebook page. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/military arms. Also, please come by and check us out at Copper Custom. If you'd like to support the Military Arms channel, it's the best possible way. A lot of great products at great prices. Also, please swing by and check out full30.com, full30.com. All the internet's best content creators can be found there. In the gun world, please swing by and check it out. I'll put a link in the description below. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and we'll talk to you guys soon. We just got done filming the Underwood 9mm test video, and we thought of something that's rather important: range etiquette. How many times have you guys gone out to a public range and found a ginormous mess that was left behind by some clown before you that you had to clean up? Here at the Military Arms channel, we take range etiquette very seriously. So much so, we've purchased a brand new range cleaning tool, the XM42 Flamethrower. This bad boy will make sure that you never have a problem with messes again. See that right there? Mess be gone, baby. This is way too much fun. I wonder if the wife wants her table back. This thing goes on forever. There we go. No more mess.